Hello again. Welcome to our channel Uncorked. My name is Roland Zimmerman. I'm here to talk to you today about wine preservation. Quickly, what is wine preservation? And more to the point, the frequently asked question we get in our retail setting is, how long does wine last? Or how long does a bottle of wine last after you've opened it? It's a really good question. It's a little bit challenging to answer though, because it depends on a number of different factors. Factors like the grape variety that the wine is made from, the temperature that the wine is stored at, whether it's a white, a red, or a rosé, all play into this. So, to try to answer that question, a rule of thumb, for whites and rosés, you can get anywhere from 3 to 5 days out of the bottle, out of an open bottle, provided it's stored in the fridge and with the lid or the cork or the cap still on it. For reds, it's a little bit longer. It's anywhere from 4 to 6 days. Now, of course, there are a couple of tricks to the trade that I'm going to show you today that you can use in order to store wines, including sparklings, for a little bit longer than the days that I just gave, or the times that I just gave you. One of the other questions that we get is specifically about preserving wine is, how can you tell if it's spoiled? And this is a little tricky to answer as well, because if you're a connoisseur, or a big fan, I should say, of the wine, you'll kind of know when it's gone past its prime. Again, sort of that 3 to 4 day window is usually sort of optimum, but one of the other factors that you want to look for is, okay, does it still smell as awesome and as great as it was the first day you opened it? Now, sometimes you can tell, okay, it's gone a little bit different. It might still taste good, so don't despair completely yet, but it may be on its way out. And it's kind of like thinking of that bit of cheese. You know, it's good the first week, and you know, by the third week, when it starts smelling up your fridge, it might be time for it to go. Now, of course, wine doesn't get that extreme, but you understand the point of what I'm trying to make in terms of sort of keep an eye on it to some degree, and just keep a sniff on the bottle. Here, this is what I mean. Just kind of smell a little bit with the cork or the stopper off, and you should be able to tell, does it still smell like it should? Does it smell inviting? Do you still want to drink it? And that's usually a good way to determine whether the wine's spoiled. Of course, the final test is actually tasting and trying it. That way you can really say, yeah, okay, no, this is done, or yeah, okay, I think this will still work for my pasta sauce tonight. So if you happen to be the unfortunate individual who happens to have some spoiled wine on hand and you can't finish the bottle because it tastes that horrific, please don't throw it out. There are a couple of things you can do with this. It's not completely wasteful. If you are of an extremely industrious type of individual, you can make vinegar out of it. For those of you that feel that this adventure might be a little above what you're willing to do with that last little bit of wine, you can use it in your cooking. For example, I personally like to use the last little dregs of specifically red wines in my tomato sauce. It just really adds a little bit of complexity, a lot of flavor to it, and it provides a little bit of color and nice aroma in the house usually. The other option, especially in the winter season, is to use it as a base for a mulled wine. Now, granted, you may have to collect a number of different dregs from a number of different bottles over the course of a longer period of time, but not to worry, as long as you put a cork in it or even a vacuum pump, the flavor won't really matter that much. It's more the alcohol and the color that you're trying to preserve for the mulled wine, and therefore, who really cares what it tastes like? It's gonna be fine, believe me. One of the other things that you can do with, for example, your whites or your rosés that tend to spoil is making a glaze. Now, I like to deglaze my pans with the old white wines that we didn't finish from usually 4 or 5 days ago when we were having a couple of glasses. And it just really adds, again, to, instead of using water to deglaze your pan, you can use old wine for that purpose, and it really adds a bit of flavor, a bit of uniqueness to your particular dish, and will definitely add a lot more enjoyment and use to those little bits. Don't dump it down the sink, please. You paid for it. Make good use of what you got, and by all means, enjoy it. Getting to some of the tricks of the trade that we use in our own setting here at the winery in order to preserve wine for a little bit longer. I have here my trusty example, Cabernet Franc, and I have with us today a wine stopper with a wine pump. Now, this is not an advertisement or in any way an endorsement for any particular manufacturer. In our experience, they all pretty much work the same. We prefer to use the Trudeau brand. That's just an in-house favorite. So, take your stopper, put it in there, squeeze it right to the bottom. Now, I don't know if you can see this on this stopper here, but there's a little knob on the top. This is what determines the pressure inside, or rather the vacuum inside. So what you're going to use is this pump, and this is going to suck out the air that's inside of this bottle. Now, you can see I gave this about 5 or even 6 pumps, and there isn't that much air in here. It's actually very, very, very low in terms of the quantity of air. Obviously, if there's more, or rather less wine in the bottle, then you're going to have to suck out a little bit more air. You'll notice it gets really, really hard on the actual pump to lift the lever or the pump action to get that to function once it's gotten to the point where there isn't enough air to suck out anymore. So that's pretty much the trick that we use. For our sparkling products, which we'll show you in a moment, we actually use a spoon. Traditionally, this used to be a silver spoon, but any spoon will work, whether stainless or silver, doesn't really matter. And you put it in the top after it's been opened. Now, that's the easiest and the cheapest way to do it. There are, of course, similar stoppers to these that are specifically geared for sparkling products that will actually guarantee the bubbles stay in your product for anywhere from 3 to 4 days. The spoon version I mentioned, it'll be enough to give you about 24 hours versus trying to put in a cork because they tend to fly out. That's it for today. Thank you very much, my wine lovers. Please subscribe down below, give us a thumbs up, and we look forward to any feedback. See you again next time.